Welcome everybody. Tonight, broadcast, I&E Network broadcast. My name's Lou Jensen, and this is the weekly gathering of Inspiration and Encouragement Network. If you're on the outside looking in from YouTube or from my Google Plus account, welcome. Film Strip's always full. We got members since 1983. We've put this artistic development cooperative together to try and help people who are in custom engraving and artists, creative people, to discover they had some talent, to develop that talent, to do whatever it takes to master something, and then to learn how to share what we've got to share with the world. And that's what the webinars have evolved into, that sharing mechanism. We get together, we've been together for now 8 years. Every Wednesday night, we visit about what might help in the marketplace for a hobby that's in an as-is world over into a great little business in the much better world. And it's quite a challenge. There's two sides to making a hobby into a business. You got to learn how to do the work, and then you got to learn how to make it work in the marketplace. And that's not easy to do both. But the marketing of yourself is without a doubt the hardest part of the whole equation. And together, I think we have a little better chance of making it work. I have 7 major mountains around Utah Valley where I live, and I've used climbing mountains, Success Mountain, as a corollary, as a symbolic concept, because I think most good things in life are uphill. They're just not, you can't show me anything worthwhile that doesn't require sacrifice, time, and energy to pull it off. But therein lies the advantage. Most people won't do what a business requires, and when you do it, gets less and less competition all the time in the marketplace. So let me fire up my my webinar tonight, and we will screen share this and get it on its way, and then we'll visit a little bit about it on the end. Welcome to all of you that are in the film strip and in the green room tonight. It was fun visiting with all of you, and appreciate you taking your time and coming. I hope you get something. Put these shows together for 7 or 8 years now, and I've tried to tweak each one every time I do it to get it a little better, and a little better, and a little better. But what I'm really looking for is one concept that will light a fire for you. And tonight's show, as always, is sponsored by Profitable Hobbies. Tamarie's the owner of Profitable Hobbies, is in the film strip tonight. She's here with us. It started out as Paragrave. I founded it in 1983. Then it turned into Paragraphics when we added sandblasting and airbrushing, and then we turned it into ProfitableHobbies.com for its .com name. And has been in existence. That exact same 800 number, free phone call to the company now, same one for over 30 years. And when we started putting together, we called ourselves a network for a long time, but we really didn't have a name. And eventually the name I&E Network began to show up and open doors of concept that really all we can do. It's up to each person to be inspired. I've never known how to inspire another human being. It's either turns them on or it doesn't. I don't know the magic there yet. But we can encourage each other. And I think that's what this group's so good at. Most of our members are really, really great people that are more than adequate and contributing and encouraging each other. And so we decided that our members program would be the part that would probably help most people get a better start. What started out as my story quickly became our story, and now we're looking for your story to add to all of it. Something great to do for the rest of your life is what I think most people are looking for. It's unbelievable the kind of hobbies that are out there. Third leading use of the internet is people looking for information related to their hobby. Something to be excited about is about all anybody needs every day. When I found the concept having a good time is my job, and I was halfway through my dental career, it didn't take me very long to lean in the direction of what was most fun. And when you find this artistic side of yourselves, it's like maybe you were born to do this kind of thing. I've heard over and over in our courses, we do lots of classes and seminars here at the company and have done for over 30 years. And most people who come to those courses, by the end of the course, they're going, God, I wish I'd been doing this all my life. I feel like I've found home. This is what I ought to be doing. I bumped into Albert Hubbard, too, as the founder of the arts and crafts movement for the American version years and years and years ago. And one of the concepts that stuck with me is he said, art is a way. It's not a thing. Art is a way. And so I'm not so sure that we're not playing with maybe the therapeutic side of life to discover that there's not the secret of being driven in your life, but to be drawn in the direction of what you really ought to do. And when you can find that, whatever it is that you really, really enjoy doing, most of our members have been custom engraving or woodworking or glass engraving like I do for years, and it just thrills me to death. I finished my 14 pieces, went to China Monday. Last Monday, Pete got on the plane and flew to China, and they're going to the top 5 Chinese people who run the whole country. We'll have a piece of my crystal now. And it just gets to where it grabs you. It's something that you can just, so satisfying to play with your talent. And I think it's therapy. I think it literally will help you get past all the struggles and all the battles that come with life and living when you got something fun that you enjoy doing in your life. This series of shows, I'm trying to show you how to build what I call an oil well in your life. My mentors, my mentors Woody and Jack taught me this, and so we went after it. Company is over 35 years old now, and we have a database from hell underneath the company. But each of you, as you start into this, should begin to make it your quest to build the same kind of a database. Once you have something to sell, if you stop right now and say, what is it that you sell? If you're in business, what do you sell? And there's soft things and there's hard things. The hard things are the products, but the soft things are what the products represent. What are people really buying from you? And once you begin to find what that is, and then you start trying to add to what it is you have to sell. You have one product, and it has an inventory number and a price. Then you have 2 products and an inventory and a price. 3, and then you add 4, and then you have 5, and then you add 6, and so this becomes then your inventory. What is it that you sell? And you'd be really smart to add on this product and this product and this product. Ron right now, Ron Schneeberger's on with us tonight, and Ron has come up with his new direction that he's going to kind of steer his life now toward, and it's called You Be You. You Be a Better You, as a coaching, mentoring kind of a concept. And it's fun to talk about it because he's seeing more what he can do with it and how it's going to fit. Before long, he'll have his book done, and then he'll have a book to sell. But that won't be the only book that he'll have to sell. Then he can sell other things that he's learned how to do, as well as his custom engraving that he also sells. And each of you should begin to build those kinds of basically an inventory of what is it that you sell. Then as you go out and move into the marketplace, you'll have people that are quite interested in what you do, but they don't buy. Then you'll have, and you want to keep them in the list. And now with Computer World, this is a slam dunk. You've got to be able to contact them, phone number, emails, information, everything you can about them, but keep them someplace, one place, so you can work your list of inquiries. Then you have a list of customers that bought something from you once. Then these people will gradually grow into these people. And this right here is the pay dirt. This is the business here. Ongoing repeat customer relationships are solid gold. It is the oil well of every small business is right there. Now, power people are people who probably don't buy from you, but they're a tremendous influence to the system as a whole. and can help you with the pictures of hope. Now, this database, I've been teaching, preaching, and building in my own life for 30 years. It's something you do not want to ignore. Because if you're going out and digging the marketplace at all and you realize what the size of the economy really is, baby boomers go crazy over what we're doing. But so do wood tool buying hobbyists. There's 22 million of them. And when you realize there's so much interest of people in a hobby that are our age and our like-minded circumstances, man, there's a ton of potential out there. But if you don't bother to build it and grow it, you've got to database mine this and cultivate it. It isn't something that happens by itself. And when we do it together, I think we got a lot more chance of actually making it work. I've watched Brian Beatty. Brian and I talked yesterday, and he's won the Utah State Best of State Award again. This 6 or 7 years in a row that Brian's been on the leading edge of art. And he was just asked to speak at the local college to the art students and talk about what he's done and how he's going. And I told him, I said, see what happens here as soon as you start to become a master of something, then you have something to share. You just have to figure out what it is and package that. And everyone that knows Brian very well knows this is the one guy in the world you don't want to tell him it won't work, because he is absolutely one of the most persistent people I have ever met, and it's just been a delight to watch his career grow, see what he's done and how he's working. The part that I try and help people begin to discover with a profitable hobby early on is that it's a tax-deductible excuse to go travel and play. Anybody that's been with us for a little while know what I'm talking about here. Your new truck, your trailer, your toys, your travel, your expenses, everything that you would normally pay with after-tax dollars, with a profitable hobby you get to use pre-tax dollars, and then you begin to build your own individual reputation based on that. It is the most unique little playground in the entire economy. And it will hover around the things that you most like. The things that have been interesting to you all along are the things that you really ought to do and what you ought to pursue. Gary Price is the artist who designed our hands. You can see the big one right behind him here. And he also was the designer of They Rise Highest Who Lift As They Go. When someone like Gary can reach out with his own talent and influence other people to the degree that Gary does, then all of a sudden when you watch what Gary's doing, you can kind of see a flavor here. There's a brand here. This is the Gary Price look, for crying out loud. Inspire your garden. Every time you see something that Gary does, it just tickles me to death because it's so clever. It's so classic Gary Price, isn't it, Tim? It's just, this is how he does everything. And I'm going, okay, maybe you don't have that flair to begin with, but why don't you try a picture of you like Gary has done of himself here? I know he wouldn't care. Try and get a really good professional shot of you. We've talked about this and talked about it and talked about it. I'll bet I brought it up in every show since January. Get an artistic and you at work kind of good professional image. And don't be shy. Put your face in it and lean into your work, okay? And when you see what someone else has done or doing, then that could then inspire you to maybe lift your sights and do a little bit more. Our 7-step program take you from an absolute beginner to the professional and then eventually to mastery, no matter what. And all you got to do is stay with it. Put yourself right here, and then we'll take you step by step from amateur to the master of something. I think we have the perfect combination. I like to coach, and we have our other masters who will help you, and then you mix the other element of the combination absolutely work out. And that is what all the fuss is. Oh, how many years ago? 37, 38 years ago, I was drilling, filling, and billing as a dentist, and I hated my job. And the more I moved into it, the better it got. It just literally took over my whole damn life. My brother and I are both dentists. Doug stayed with the career, and I retired early to go chase a dream. But when that miracle showed up, then everything in my life started to change. You should be able to identify something similar to this in your own career when you say, well, here's my as-is world over here. And then I bumped into something that really caught my eye, that really caught my interest. And then you grow that idea towards something that's better that surrounds this, which means you have to change things, your own thinking. To take a right angle down drill and cut an eggshell, cut those patterns out, that was one thing. But to be able to take a straight drill and come up with a straight tool that worked a little better became the real innovation of my whole life. So if you could have the beginnings of your own career, I'll bet you can. There's some things you started to practice on or things you started to try. If you'll keep those and hang on to those as signals of how far you've come, it really is a smart idea. This time in the spring every year just freaks me out because it's more than I ever dreamed, and it all started around Easter time.
And you know what?
What?
I have one of those first eggs, and I have one of those eggs, and I have
One of those eggs.
I have a bunch of those eggs, and I love it.
This one right here was a mistake. That one right there. I cut that same pattern on 4 sides, and this is a turkey egg. This egg took me 20 minutes to carve. I could bang it out in 20 minutes and get $100 for it. And then I broke it one time. See where that little perforated line is right there? I got that all done, and then it cracked. My finger came through the back. So I just went ahead and cut it out and made a cameo out of it, a pecan shell. That one was for my mother. She kind of liked that one. And this is a tatting pattern. I love tatting patterns. They are really, really gorgeous. But I show my beginnings often, and I go back through it. One, it's fun to, it's like a singer who has a hit song that started their career. A comedian has a joke that lit up their life. I mean, it's got to be about the same for everybody that tends to master something. You remember your beginnings, and it's mostly because it was so flippin' hard to get it started. Nothing makes me more upset when someone tends to ignore that this was just pure damn luck, because it's just taken forever to get it lit up. And when I was doing the Main Play Small, this was long before there was a company, long before. I was in California doing an art show at this mall, and the kid came over and wanted me to teach him how to do it and sell him equipment. And that was the thought, that was the moment, that was the idea that started the whole damn company. So to go from beginnings to where it is now, all along the way, step by step, is just the path that you enjoy, something that you like, and then you never, 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 never back off. You pick up that thread of interest and then never, never let go from then on. Now, the fact that we added airbrushing was because we bumped into James Jensen, who was airbrushing for Media Play, and I watched him paint my granddaughter's portrait, and I went, you know what? That's air with a tool with patterns. It's the exact same thing we do with sandblasting. An air tool with patterns. An air tool with patterns. So if you can trace a line, we can teach you to custom engrave, airbrush, and sandblasting. This is not wizardry here. And the second I did this engraving right here, I've talked about it many, many times, but this was my wake-up moment. My buddy wanted this engraved in the back window of his pickup, and he asked me how much I would have charged, and I said probably about $300, and he didn't even blink. Didn't even blink. He didn't pay me, but he didn't blink about the price. He says, yeah, that sounds right. And I didn't know what to charge. I just said $300. And when I can trace this thing out in an hour with a pattern and charge $300 an hour, that was more than dentistry per hour. And that was the moment that changed all my thinking. And all we did was nudge it on into the marketplace a little more and a little more and a little more until
Do
now,
you,
like,
Lou,
go
do you
ahead,
have a
please.
picture of that, of the truck?
I don't have that.
Oh, no.
That was the window that Jim Griffiths broke at the car show. Remember?
Oh, yes.
He
Yeah, I
was loading
remember.
up a truck, loading up the window, and shoved the big board through that window and broke it
Almost
all.
had a fight right there
Yeah,
in the, yeah,
that's a whole
yeah,
nother
that's
story. We don't want to
yeah,
go
for sure.
there. But the evolution of it from what Keith has done with it, what Tammy's done with it, what I was able to do, what Darwin's done, Mary, Craig, all these are ordinary people, except they're not. They've leaned in a direction that has kept them going for years and years and years. And if you can find something like that, then all of a sudden you can begin to open up your whole other life like Joe has done, because he now knows what it's like to work less and play more. I don't think you could get him to quit ever. And when you can realize that it's us that needs to shift our own thinking in order to get over here and turn basically nothing into something, all of a sudden you begin to see opportunity all over the place. Dennis worked for AT&T and was getting ready to retire. And we went down to see the big show, that big trailer park thing in Arizona they have every year in the middle of the winter. We took his motorhome and went down. We put out that stupid table and put our stuff up and turned the drill on. And the second you do this kind of thing, the whole world wants to come and watch it. It's amazing. And he got a really nice article in a national book that was published about RVing full time. Oh, God, those were fun days. We just had such a good time. And so when I hand out that beginning of an idea of a business around the concept is not only the selling the work that you do, but the people in the marketplace who want to learn how to do what you've learned how to do. There's 80 million boomers looking for exactly what you've already found. So when you begin to learn to build this database, Tam, can you come on for a minute and tell how valuable is Profitable Hobbies database been?
Oh my gracious. No, I can't tell you how.
There's no way.
It's just, yeah, it's just more than one of the hardest things that we had lightning hit the building, close to the building, fried all of our computers. We lost all that database, and we slowly but surely build it back up again, and people would call in and we could put them back in. And then we had another crash. So I would imagine, I mean, look at all the filing cabinets that we had with invoices.
We've done well at hanging on to it. The main thing is to build it.
Yes.
Go from the idea of here. There's no way to measure the dollar value here. It's
But the
millions.
most important thing I'm saying is back it up, because it is so valuable. Do not lose it. And I call my customers back, at least try and get back to them at least once a year just to see how they're doing. And I think that's important too, is to use that database.
You're supposed to grow it. I'm not talking about putting it in a drawer or putting it in a computer. The idea is to grow it and grow the relationship from keeping track of it, okay?
Right.
So as we start into this next part now, what I want you to realize is this works, and it becomes a whole new world, but only if you do it. It does not evolve itself, and it is a whole new world. It's a whole new way to manage a small business, and most small businesses don't manage this well at all. The repeat customer relationship to them just almost has no bearing whatsoever. And so as you begin to go in this direction, what I'm hoping you'll do is say, all right, this is just one very smart thing for me, to take my hobby and turn it into a great business. And the great business will be a manageable database. I call it the Handmade Crusade because I think it's the future of all handmade fine art things. As computers and robotics and artificial intelligence hit the handmade, hand-produced world, which is hitting everything, handmade, human-made things are going to get really, really rare. And if people learn how to produce these handmade things and make them custom for individual applications, and you're selling and trading with upscale, like-minded people, you're going to get paid beyond any other category in the economy. So it is a scaling. It's an uphill climb, but it is scalable. This is a pathway that you could actually make work. And it's all about your customers. It's really challenging to find a customer and keep them into your life, but it's more challenging to have to go out and find another customer. So it's this ongoing relationship marketing thing that tickles me, because the internet's just now beginning to make it a buzzword. And yet we've been buzzing it for years and years and years, because it's the only way to make this business application that you're going after work, okay? And if you can see that there's something here that will help you grow, find, and keep those individual relationships, then you're going to start to have these aha moments where you're beginning to realize, okay, what I've got to do is multiply my effort. I don't want it to have to be the same thing this year and the same thing next year and the same thing the year after that. It's to get beyond that, get above that, get past that, to find them and keep them. So we're going to talk about how to find them. The kind of signals that you're sending up in the marketplace begin to be what people buy, what they get involved with, why they get involved with you. Julie Jepson is one of the nation's leading fine art artists, and she was at the WRA art show that Russell and Jeff Wolf have every year. And Julie came as one of the judges, and I got talking to her at dinner. We were visiting, and she says, you know, I don't listen to most of the art marketers out there. She says, I just go market myself. She says, I go where the money is. And she had just got a contract from the CEO of Shell Oil's wife, bought a picture from Julie for him that he had seen at this art show in Jackson Hole that they did. And she said to me, she said, I don't understand why artists don't figure this out, that where the money is where you need to go. It's where you need to be. You can't sit in your trailer down in Tennessee in the swamp in the bayou and expect to sell something to the CEO of Shell Oil. And I mean, there's just a whole world right here. Just what she's saying. Her degree of success. Gary Price knows this, okay? Craig Hone knows this. Al Hone knows this. Gary Price knows this big time. That if you're marketing at Sundance or you're playing at Park City, you've got a much, much better chance to cross paths with the people that are extremely well off. Isn't this one of the most gorgeous little main streets in the world? And I'll tell you, when the snow comes down and they light up this little old silver mining town, there's some heavy money to play around in Park City. Now, I wanted to start tonight with this little puzzle piece, and in case you've forgotten it, okay, because I had it on last year. Just think while I'm reading. Silence everywhere. I just walked around, clearly not knowing what I would do, when suddenly I saw a large wooden table. Oak brown, the table was bigger than anything I'd ever seen, and I walked over to it, and to my surprise, there was pieces of a big jigsaw puzzle. Now, this wasn't your regular jigsaw puzzle piece. Each had its own weight, each had its own pressure. I decided I would make it complete, no matter what it took. So determined and arrogant that I was, I lifted each piece with all its weight on my shoulders, and sometimes I laughed, sometimes I cried, sometimes I was angry. Sometimes I just stood plain confused, while sometimes I jumped with joy. I didn't really understand why all this was happening or why all these things came out of me, but it was like some force inside pushed all of this outside. My strongest instincts betrayed me as I laughed and cried for no reason, but there was no giving up, no failure, sweat dripping, bones aching. I still picked it up every damn time, with even the last ounce of strength and left inside me, and I put it together again, and whenever I felt it was wrong, Whatever I missed, I removed and I fixed it. Finally, after what seemed like a long, long time, I completed it. I looked down to admire what was the result of my hard toil and labor, and I was shocked, shocked to my very soul. It was a picture of me standing happily, looking down at the puzzle I had completed. I was smiling in that picture, and every detail had been brought in with perfection. And as I looked at the picture, I couldn't help but wonder why this has presented itself this way. Now, of all the other moments in my life, suddenly I realized the piece was a part of my life. Each brought out what I had gone through. The laughs, the cries, the elations, and the depressions. This was meant to be. This puzzle had brought about a wake-up call. Just like I created the fate of the puzzle by putting it together, it was time to do the same for my life. It was time to put my life together. Still arrogant, still determined, I smiled and walked away. This is in here because it's for me. I found it a long time ago. And you guys all know I keep a journal, and my journal's my life. It's the puzzle pieces that I like. It's the puzzle pieces that I think fit. It's a quote that just buries a hole in your forehead. When you see it, your skin and Google Plus, and all of a sudden there's a state there that just wipes you off the planet because it's just timely, timely, timely. And then when you begin to realize that's why I do this, that's why I go forward, that's why I develop your talent, that's why to keep fixing it, it's why to keep working with it. Years ago, I crossed paths with Oriah Mountain Dreamer story, and this is her shaman, Indian shaman pen name, but she's written all these books now. And The Invitation was her first one. And I read her story in a magazine, and I couldn't believe how this whole thing had happened for her. She is an extremely fun writer. I like everything she says. Life is messy. Accept it. It's okay to have a plan. Just don't focus on it. Things aren't likely to go according to plan. Focus on what you need to do next, right now. Pay attention to what has real value for you at the level of your own body, heat, self, and people. Places, activities, and practices that help you feel truly alive, that support your ability to be present and kind. If there's something calling to you, turn toward it and start walking. It may not lead where you think it will, but make a place in all the wonderful chaos of life to listen deeply to the voice at the center of your being. Pay attention to what it calls and tells you. Life is short and messy. Don't postpone living until life gets neater, or easier, or less frantic, or more enlightened. There's a catch to the popular admonition to live in the now. It's that the only way to be in the now is to be here in the life and the body you have, and in the world we share right now, not with the body or the world we hope to have someday or imagine we'll get used to having. This is it, and it will change. Choose life in all the small ways you can every day. On some level, it sounds so obvious, and I realize I'm saying what I need to do here over and over. So I'm writing mostly about what it really means to love the life and world and being that I am you right now. And I find I can't approach this loving and caring, caretaking as I once did from the place of principled and disciplined practices as much as I value those practices, and I have, and I continue to use them. This new loving of self and life is messier in the ways that organic things are messy. Different aspects growing at different speeds, circuitous routes of growth, following the instinctual need for light and warmth, some parts blossoming as others decay and feed the roots with what has died. When you find things that fit, they touch you, I call them zingers. They're things that should be teaching you. There is this sense of what you next now ought to do is what you're searching for. And these concepts come to you. It is the intuitive side of every human being to get those same damn signals. But if you don't do something with them, you don't bring them into your life and shape them and fashion them and change your life by that activity, then you won't cross paths with like-minded people who are of the same persuasion. Your database will be very, very similar individuals to who you are. And the strength that I see in the 4 years I've been playing now with Google Plus is Google's now doing that for us. David Amerlin is talking about semantic search, and semantics is this subtle stuff that threads human beings together. And when we have a similar kind of persuasion, it shows up in your mixes with the database. Did you know you can load down your entire search history? You know, Google just opened the door and will let you download your entire search history. And I'm thinking you probably couldn't make heads or tails of it even if you had it. But the computer does. The computer knows and probably understands more about ourselves than we do. And once we begin to realize there's something significant going on underneath all of our lives, I don't think this is just an ordinary way to grow old. I think it's an extraordinary way. When we started talking about sacred geometry, I remember Keith began to bring it up, and I had never heard of it before. I had no clue what sacred geometry, what the golden mean ratio even was. And the more you get into it, the more it just blows you clear off the planet. It is so pervasive. There's just absolutely nothing in all of mathematics, very little in art and human nature and reality that's not based on sacred geometry. And once you begin to realize there's more going on than what you maybe thought of to begin with, then all of a sudden this statement here starts to have a whole new meaning to it. Okay? Schneider's an expert in sacred geometry and how mathematics influences and inspires art. The principles from numbers and mathematics applied to the art field yield geometric constructions that have been used for millennia. It is the underlying order and structure behind most of nature's most fascinating designs and forms. The Nautilus shell is usually used often as the symbol of what this is all about with sacred geometry. But every shell is larger than the one before it by the exact same ratio. And I mean it is 1.1618. One tiny bit more than the one before, the one before, the one before. And when you see that the volume of these shells is growing by that exact same ratio, how in the hell does that happen? In nature, it just shouldn't, except it does. And it's in everything. And it's such a profound, silly, fun, artistic idea. Every great master of art has used it for years and years. So one day I'm on the web banging around and I find this. I saw this geometry and I just went, oh, what a clever piece of artwork. Look how flippin' beautiful that is. Is that absolutely? And this was a quote. I hope you'll enjoy my designs. They're visions of order in the universe, my peaceful places. I feel calm and hopeful in the making of them, and I hope they will bring some of that satisfaction into your own life. What an awesome way to put a brand of you and your art into the economy, into the marketplace. And if you say, well, damn, I didn't get there. Schneider did it first. I'm going, oh, come on. There's something else, something that you could envision, something that you could bring into the equation that would then be just as powerful in your own life and be your own personal brand as what they have done with everything with sacred geometry. It takes time to build a brand name from scratch. People pay big franchise fees to purchase brand name businesses. This tells you the importance of a brand name. When I talked to you in the very beginning of the show, and I said, what is it that you sell? What do you sell? When you're trying to generate income from sales, what are you selling? It needs to be some really strong branded kind of concept that's out in front of every individual products. It's well worth considering the value of brand names when you make your business plan. Be prepared for the time and the money you must spend to build the brand. From all the evidence, you will be well rewarded for your efforts. And so when we talk about the brand and then you don't do anything more with it, why bother? You know, he just said time and money here, energy and effort and focus and continued attention to what the hell is it that I'm selling? Who am I in the economy? Who am I in the marketplace? Everything on Google Plus is to build your name and reputation. For what? What is it that you're trying to define? And if you'll realize what happens there, you begin to sense all of a sudden there's something different about you. Okay? It can't be the same as every other egg that's out there for sale. This is a need. You are a want. It's a whole nother thing. Okay? It's what people identify with, it's what they remember you with, and it is usually the signal that they will then begin to be involved with you. And it goes from your list of inquiries to your list of customers to your list of patrons to your power people. This is the part that really makes it actually work. So you either learn to manage your brand or you do not. If you suddenly begin to realize what this is, what representation and reputation really means, is the guarding and the presentation on purpose by design of who you are and what you're doing in the economy. Some that I've crossed paths with and some that I've tried so hard to help them see the value of this never are going to grow up. They don't see the value in becoming what they can become. A lot of people stand here and all they see is these. They never see themselves outstanding. It's like they can't. It's like they don't dare. Something in their psyche keeps them in ordinary. And I don't think you can live that way. Okay? Whole new world out there, but you've got to stand up and go after it. You can't back off and not look at every word here that then begins to define who you are and what you're after. Who you might become, the authentic, unique, different, patient, helpful, responsible, consistent, valuable, visible, exciting, focused individual. God, I wish I'd written this book. Actually, I've got a couple that are just pretty close to that. Every time you see somebody else with elements of lifestyle that you desire, that really strongly appeal to you, it needs to go into your journal and you need to cross paths with it often and think about, if my as-is world is here, what in the hell can I do to get it better and move it? It just has got to be something. When I cross paths with this moment, I will never forget. I was in Cleveland, I think it's Cleveland, Ohio, going up the freeway, going somewhere. I was alone in the rental car, and I saw a sign on the freeway that said Warther Carvings. I had no clue what Warther Carvings even was. And I keep thinking now, what if I had not turned off on that exit? I just, man, something hit me like a Mack truck, and I'm going, I don't know, whatever it is, it's carving something, I'm going to go find out. And most of you who've been around hanging out with me know I do this often. I lean where the inspiration, where the feelings should take me. You're looking at the most valuable handmade treasure in America now. The old man got up every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and carved until 9 o'clock in his little 4-foot square studio. And these are large-scale handmade models out of exotic woods and ivory. All the white is pure ivory. And he was fascinated with trains, and all the parts move. They're unbelievable. Henry Ford tried his whole life to buy this set of carvings and move them to Detroit. Or they wouldn't sell them. And I hear so damn many people that can't get anything done because they're not willing to get up and do what he did. He made his living sharpening knives. And he went out all over the area and asked to sharpen knives all day. So the only way he could carve is get up in the middle of the night. What if he hadn't done that? It's really hard to build a database around the concept if you haven't defined it. You don't consider what what it is that you sell. How are you different? How are you unique? When you see a professional image like this of this artist, this should never, ever go out of your mind and your thinking, because there's something around you that is as dramatically new and unique as what is around him. Do you see that? This is creativity. This is expression. It's art. This is what a way means. And it usually takes half our lifetime to even figure it out. But it's the only goal. I don't know what else you do. You can't miss an Ann Getty's picture. When you see her work, I don't care what it is with babies. They're so clever and so unique and so wonderful. You go, how many millions of photographers there are out there? How many take pictures of babies, but none of them do what she does to a photograph. It's just so exciting. So when you see those kinds of things, then you're thinking and asking your intuition, what can I be? What is here? Who am I? And what am I got to share with the world? Why get up every day? And why work? And why struggle if there's not something growing there? It's your personal identity that you're after. The brand that then becomes you. It does usually, you can do it on your own, and a lot of people try. But without some training, without some help, I think you're talking about an extremely difficult challenge. You really need to get on the phone and talk to Tammy tomorrow and have her help you go through what training is available. We've built tools around these concepts for the last 30 years. We're fairly good at helping people get started. And if a master pulls into your life and helps you, you will take off years of your training. Years of your training for that extra portion of discovering the surprise inside is really you. Yes, in next week's show, I'm going to try and show you the utility of these 4 circles. I have taught this till I'm blue in the face, and I still have so many people that don't even have a clue. And they don't use it. They don't know how to make this into an oil well. But the ongoing business relationship side of doing a business, there's no reason not to do this. If you're not growing your database, you're just spinning your wheels. And it is all the difference in the world once it begins to succeed. It is the real value of any good business, is its relationship marketing with its own existing database. So, next week we'll talk about how to build it. I hope it's something that you begin to realize in your own efforts of your business. Why do it? I think often many people don't do it because they don't see the value. They don't sense what's going on. Come on here, baby. Shut down here somehow. It doesn't want to tonight for some reason. And where is... Okay, they changed it a little. Imagine Google changing something. Holy cow. That only happens every other hour of every other day of every other week, right?
You'd think they were Dr. Lou Jensen.
Hey, shh, Jerome, Mel, quiet. Shh, don't bring that up. That's probably why I fit well over here, because you got that changing personality, maybe. Any question, any comment? Do you see the correlation between your like-minded customer and your own dreams? You just are not likely to sell to somebody just to sell to them. You need the relationship. You need to go on down the road together. It's not just a piece of artwork, not just a gun engraving, not just a... I mean, I can't tell you the overlap of my business relationships in my 30 years, how strong that has become between people that are customers that I start out with.
It's because you sold yourself to them.
Maybe so. I don't know. I had lunch with my number one patron, my number one friend yesterday, and God, that relationship's gone down some amazing pathways, and what it's leading now to could become really the defining factor of my entire life. And I don't think that's an accident. I think that's something you have to pay attention to, something you have to go back into. You have to work on growing those relationships to the point that you then have some substance in what it is you trade. Otherwise, it just stays as a hobby. And it doesn't take much. It's the beginning part that's hard. And there's no question. I talk about it. Your first shows, your first session. Has anybody talked to Jay? How's Jay's shows coming? Anybody know? I haven't seen anything posted from him, so I'm hoping that he's doing okay and hanging in there. But these first beginning efforts, you first do your first shows, are just tough. You've never done an event marketing effort, and you don't really know what the hell you're doing, but you're never going to know if you don't go give it a try. And from Jose Valencia's beginnings, where he used to sit with me in a show, and he was so nervous and scared to talk to people. He didn't know what to say, and he didn't know how to say it. He'd listen to me do my pitches and my stories, and I'd teach him some of the stories, and then the next day he'd start using them, and a little more. Boy, I want to see you know something now. You go do a gun event, an custom engraving event with Jose Valencia, you're going to come away startled to your toes, because he is really good now. Really good now. Lance, how many shows have you done so far, would you guess?
I would have to say probably 15.
15?
Really, because
okay.
And you know, it's true about what you said about Jose. When I was at my last outdoor expo, he stopped by on a Sunday, and we talked. He was by a booth for about, I guess about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Excuse me, about an hour. And he, you know, he just having that second voice as I'm talking to people, and he popped in a couple times. It was great, you know, just to have him say a few things, and having it come from another voice than me, a second voice, is something special. So now I can see how a second person in a show would be nice. Kind of tough for me to work out sometimes, but
but it'll grow. The opportunity will happen.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be somebody that'll want to learn, and they'll want to learn from you or with you, and then you take them and start learning. Because when you can tag team an event, it's deadly. There's nothing better. I mean, I've always had Tammy underneath me or alongside of it, and we tag team the customer relationships, and it's amazing how effective it is.
Well, over the years, I helped at a couple of Jose's shows, and I learned stuff every single time.
Learn.
Yeah,
Go make that investment.
Definitely good.
And pick up that. It's a way of presenting things. It's a way of doing things.
Yep. Everybody's got their style, but you'll learn it. You'll learn something every time.
It's this like-minded thing that you're after. It's you don't have to hardly pay attention to how well am I selling. It's how's the conversation going. Mm-hmm. Are they enjoying what you're saying? That's why stories are so important. I have my story, and I'll share it with you, and you ought to use it. You get the occasion, you ought to do it. You ought to say, I want to share with you a moment that happened to Dr. Lou Jensen when he first started this same thing. This little tiny club came in and wanted a donation for a new search and rescue airplane. And I had them go get a gun, and I carved the gun, and they sold raffle tickets to raise money for this new search and rescue airplane. And now, if you're going to bet that a little tiny club of 6 people would be enough to draw Lou Jensen past dentistry, not many people would believe that moment. But it's exactly what happened. That little club of 6 people came up with the idea of selling 12 tickets for $10, and it was just ahead of the hunting season in Vernal, Utah. Well, Vernal's a rather exceptional hunting community because they let school out for the deer hunt. It's just really, between guns and deer hunting, there's just almost nothing higher on the priority level of my community. So here's these 6 people running around presenting my gun, trying to sell 12 tickets for $10. And guess what? It worked. And those 6 people sold $8,001 tickets on my 4th gun. Only 4th one I'd ever done. And I'm trying to find that damn gun now because I would really like it back. We've narrowed it down. It's in Boulder, Colorado somewhere. I got to start working the internet and see if I can't find that. Did you guys see where that lady found that print that Tammy and I bought, that lithograph from Europe? Lady found exactly the artist and nailed it for me, and I'm just going, there's the most amazing thing going on in life now that I have never seen in my entire life. Is this mixability is just the most amazing asset there ever been. So, number 1, promise yourself that you're going to play on Google Plus more every day, a little bit every day. Remember, everything you've ever learned, ever been taught, that the real advantage in life comes from a little bit all the time, not these huge, spiky kind of things. Just push yourself to learn the new things and figure out what to do and begin to develop and grow your reputation right there. Your name and reputation. Who are you trying to become? And what is it that you have to sell? If all it is just giveaway, then you don't really have a business yet, do you? What is it that you sell? Debbie's getting ready to do a bunch of events now. You got the Mother's Day thing coming up right away, Deb. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take a yellow notepad with you. And that yellow notepad is to gather the names of people who are interested in learning how to do what you are doing. Deb. Okay? And I'm going to hope you'll get, how many days are you asked to engrave? How many days have you got going? You're at the King of Prussia Mall, right?
Yeah, I'm at the King of Prussia Mall 2 days, Friday and Saturday.
Okay, 2 days. I want 8 people. 4 a day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. No, that's 2. That's my dentists are doing well. 8 people. 4 each day. Okay, that's the goal. Look for it. Now, Tammy can come back and verify this little tactic, but we have kind of come up with a really amazing way of making business work. You sit down and say, what do sales need to be next month? What could sales be next month? And you write it down and you hang it up on the mirror in your bathroom and say, that's the number I'm going after. I'm going after that sales. Now, if you only got one product to sell, pretty hard, but what you got to do is do something. Define it. Define what you're after. Just like this idea of 4 people a day that are interested in learning to do what I do. You have to pay attention a little, because most of those people are pretty subtle. They don't always say a lot. They're curious, but they're nervous as well, and usually brand new, and they don't quite. So you have to really pay attention to them. But that's the other part of the business that you're playing with here now. Okay. Every one of you should know how much money I've made selling kits, how much money Ken Brown has made selling kits. Once you develop a concept, okay? If Mel Jones decided to teach a class and sell a kit around how to use and work with stainless steel to do jewelry, there's not a one of us don't know the reaction that would happen there. When you see what Jay's doing with custom motorcycles, you gotta know that out of every show he does, there's 4 or 5 people that go, God, I wish I could learn to do that. But 99% of humanity doesn't think they can do it. They don't realize it's a pattern. It doesn't dawn on them what you're actually doing and how we're doing it. Every time you show at a gun show, there's this person, this person, this person, this person that wants to learn how to do what it is you've learned how to do. And that's the other half of the business. And it's the most sustaining portion to say, okay, I've got to come out of that show, my efforts to do that show, with some inquiry of what? What is it that you have that you could package and sell? The kits and the structure of the business is all underneath you already. Most of you don't utilize it at all. All you got to do is get some names and then say, listen, I'll get in touch with the company. I'll touch with Henry. She can help you kind of line things up and see if we can't get you started. You get to be the trainer. You get to be the person to handhold and teach them. And I know exactly what to do to price it and help you get started and help you manage. It's just the database part of this thing is what you need to be looking at, is the whole picture. Not just how to carve a baseball bat or engrave a piece of glass or do a bottle of perfume. It's the whole picture that really matters and will end up being a big deal for you. I think, Ron, can you tell everybody, and let's just finish up tonight a little bit, can you tell them as much as you can about how you're progressing with UBU? And
with what I'm doing now?
Yeah, with what you're doing now. Do you see the potential coming, and how, you know how big this can be?
Oh, yeah, well, we took this UBU thing and you be a better you, and I started using a hashtag, putting it after everything I post and share. And if you click on it, on the hashtag, it brings you right to me. And it goes down all the lists that I posted, everything that I posted. Now, the You Be a Better You has only my stuff. If you click on the UBU, it'll have my stuff mixed in with some other stuff, because I found out UBU goes back for years with different stuff that people have been using those 3 letters. But I'm going to make it mine. I'm going to be at the top of the list because I'm using it more than anybody else is.
Now, we're all going to sustain Ron here, okay? Every chance you get, when Ron posts something up and he's got that hashtag UBU, you put in hashtag UBU and plus Ron Snaberger's name and +1 it. We can all start making this work better for each other. And it's the way to grow it, because something like this will then become a part of what you're doing. And it's better than SEO. It's the best concept in the entire internet right now is hashtag something. Hashtag a concept I've hashtagged what you ought to do. And I don't see any of you turn around and use it, but you should. I wish you would. Every time you reshare something Ron does and run it back down through your own personal stream, you help Ron, but you help you. So take a little time and say more than just nice, fine, whatever. Those little one-word comments don't hardly do a thing. Lean into it a little bit. Teach them. Jason put up that one spoon that he carved this week. And he carved the flower finally on the handle of it. Wasn't that cool? And I have tried so hard to get Jason to see. He's got so flipping much potential right under him. But he doesn't see the personalization. He has no clue how that can help him with his retailing and his marketing yet. But he will. He's getting a little closer and a little closer all the time. But when you begin to sense that, okay, if I do something to nudge Jason's life along, that also helps you and your life. Remember, Gary Price said, they rise highest, lift as they go. And that, to me, is the whole INE network concept is. I know all of you. Go ahead, Ron.
There's one more thing. I'm just going to, I don't know how this is going to work, if it's going to work, but there is a chance that every now and then, from time to time, I might be co-hosting another Hangout on air. I don't know when it's going to happen or if, but there is a possibility.
Well, isn't that the natural next step, Ron? I mean, I think I've been telling you how long you'll have your own show. Every master in our circle should have their own Hangout. There's no reason not to. And all we have to do is learn how to build what do I do to have a show. Pretty easy to have a show, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah, it really is. You know,
as long as you know how to set it up and get it started and launch it.
Yeah.
You sit down with the Chef Litley, and what he does is visit about things, and when you know what you need to talk about, it's not hard to be a part of a webinar, is it?
No, it's not. And I've learned, I got to talk to you about it, but I've learned how to do the comment tracker. And so I can handle that, you know, if people comment, I can follow it, and I can, if there's I can save the comments, the good ones, and I can bring them up later, or during the show I can wave my hand and say, hey, we got some comments here, you know, if you want to take a break, I can read them off and answer them. But
well, all of it has grown for us from the beginning. Our shows were pretty silly, but they've gotten a little better and a little better and gotten a little better all the time. And this tool is not going away. This is too good. And for people to mix like-minded relationships with Hangout, every one of you should start thinking about a Hangout that you could do so that you can begin to learn how to step up to the plate and have a show that's on Google Plus for yourself. Teach what you've learned how to do. That's where the real money is. The day Woody Searle sat me down and he said, Lou Jensen, he says, you're missing the whole boat here. He says, you're selling drills. And he says, it isn't the drill that's the secret here. Secret is packaging and selling what you have learned how to do. Okay? And build a database around that so that it goes on and on and on and on in the economy. Craig Hode, I sat down with Craig and showed him this and opened the door for him years ago. And the one thing we needed the most in the network was good animal artwork for guns and furniture and all the things we're doing. We just didn't have good stuff. The stuff that's used for leather tooling is pretty immature stuff, pretty basic graphics. And so Craig started, and that boy drew 60 drawings in 2 years. And if you've ever bought his art collection set, you know you got some serious graphic. But he did 60 drawings in 2 years. And we put a $700 price tag on it, and have sold it down to members of the database. You can't get it anywhere else. You just get it through the through Profitable Hobbies. And I can't tell you how many sets we've sold. I wouldn't dare even dare guess. Just about everybody, I've had 3,000 in my classes, and just about everybody buys a book from my course of Craig's work. And it's a multiplied on and on. So yeah, he made this hellish upfront investment and effort to get that done. But that's a tool that has sold and sold and continues to sell. And I suspect it will sell even after Craig's not here. I think his own children will be able to take it on from there as well. So we're building a database together as a whole. I am hopeful. I would like to see the ID network and the Handmade Crusade end up in a permanent place in the world, because at some point handmade things are going to become extremely rare, extremely exotic, a very good marketplace playground for each of us. But someone's got to bang the drum and wave the flag of value and to continue promoting. And I hope you will kind of decide. All of you have played with me for quite some time already, so I don't think it's like talking to the choir here. I'm talking to the ones that aren't in the film strip with me. But pay attention to the fact that this is a fairly thing, because it really shouldn't have as much value as it does. But it ends up having quite an impact on your own individual life when you begin to see, like Ron is now. Ron, have you had any more fun with your life than you're having right now?
No, the last, I'd say as short as the last 4 months, not 6 months. The last 4 months, it's really been turned around. Yep. Absolutely phenomenal.
And could you have mixed with the wide range of people and all over the damn world like you are now in any other way?
No.
Never.
No, it would be impossible.
The old days of how things have been presented and sold have changed dramatically. But I have a feeling that your past, because you know what you're doing with selling, that's part of what's given you an advantage now, Ron, because not everyone has that. Not everyone's done as much selling as you have. Makes it really, really valuable to know what you've learned how to do.
The funny part is that when I got on some of the hangouts, I just said that I was from Jupiter, and said hello to everybody, and people didn't know that that Jupiter was in Florida, and so they made a big game out of it, and I'm now known as the Galactic Traveler from Jupiter, Florida. With Jupiter, Florida, and traveling the galaxy. Especially when I got my new computer, they called it my spaceship, and now they say, "Oh, Ron's on. He's got his new spaceship up and running." So we have a lot of fun with it. So, but that wouldn't have happened if it wouldn't be for Google Plus, and what we're doing and posting and sharing and everything else. So it's it all adds in.
Yeah. Well, I think the secret is mixed aggressively, Ron. You're not hesitant, and you mix aggressively, and it takes time, no question. You got to force the issue and put some time into that mixture with humanity in order to make it work. But it's just amazing how it begins to work out. All right, troops. I'm going to shut the show down tonight. I've got to kind of finish up. I got a lot yet to do tonight. I'm not going to do a webinar tomorrow night. The lab session. I have got so much happening right now. If you guys wanted to get together, or Mel or Ron, either one of you want to launch a get together and just talk among yourselves about what the show was tonight, that would be fine with me. But I just cannot get another one in this week, so I'm going to finish tonight, and then next week is how. Okay, so do not miss next week. All right.